Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast where we talk about our favorite movies. Today we're going to be talking about the 2016 Manchester by the Sea. Very excited. My name is Patrick. With me is fantastic pair of glasses today. As always, Darren Farrell. How's it going, bud?
I really don't know the right answer to that because I would just watch Manchester by the Sea. So, I'm trying to get out of this melancholy that I feel from watching this terrific 2016 film starring Michelle Williams and Casey Affleck. I mean, man, it's talk about real life and exploring grief. This is a movie that you will not be disappointed by, but you will have a deep feeling of I don't know what this feeling is, but you carry it around a while. That's for sure.
Well, if you haven't scared everybody off already, this movie is way funnier than I remembered, actually. So, I mean, we'll definitely get into it for sure. But yeah, a lot of grief, a lot of depression. But there's a couple reasons why this is one that I was very excited to do. Maybe we can actually start there. This is kind of a mutual pick. I know we've thrown this movie around a couple times, and I know you reacted really well to it. What was making you excited to have this on the list, and when was the first time you saw it?
I don't know. There's movies like this that my friends joke, and I think you know this, that I don't like comedies. It's not really true, but
yeah, I would say that's
gravitate. True. Yeah, I don't really gravitate towards watching anything that's entertainment for me to just laugh like an idiot. I really want to explore people and humans and why we do what we do. And for a person who's actually gone through a lot of grief in my own life, I like to see how other people might go through something similar or something that I've never even experienced before, and what other people's life circumstances are. I like to see settings that I might not be familiar with and how people might deal with grief based on that setting. I mean, this is a very Manchester by the Sea. It's right in the name. What is that environment like, and how does that contribute to the way a character may be feeling or mentality? As we know, in the Midwest, we always talk about the pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality, and how, don't really want to get into too much complaining. You're just supposed to work hard and not really complain. And there's something to seeing another environment, another world. And like we talked about in our very first episode of this podcast, the movies are a machine that generates empathy, right? That's the famous Roger Ebert quote.
Yep.
So that's one of the big reasons why I enjoy this movie. I mean, as sad as it can be, you're right. There's a lot of funny parts, and that's a great tribute to Casey Affleck and Lucas Hedges. I think both of those characters are so well paired, and also great actors in their own right, that it makes for this film to have some of those lighter moments where, you got to have a little bit of that. You also have to see a little bit of camaraderie in such a dark time.
Damn, love it. A lot there. I'm excited to hear more about that. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen Manchester by the Sea, 2016, won a couple Oscars. I believe Casey Affleck for Best Actor, and then Kenneth Lonergan, the director, he won the screenplay for won the Oscar for Best Screenplay on this one. I was nominated for a couple more. Just really quickly, I mean, it is the story of Lee Chandler, played by Casey Affleck. Movie starts with him finding out about the death of his brother, and the subsequent role as of him being the guardian of his nephew, Patrick. And this basically leads to him returning to his previous home and facing the trauma of his past, which, again, this is a spoiler-heavy podcast, and does involve the loss of his children. And so we really learn through this unfolding of this broken character, what happened to him, why he is the way he is, because you're basically watching the first half of the movie knowing you're watching a broken person, but not quite sure why, and watching it unfold as he starts again with this parent role for his nephew Patrick. And so Yeah, fantastic movie. I love this movie so much. Very excited that you were down to talk about this one.
Well,
Yeah.
why did you like it so much? What was the reason why it would be your pick as well?
Well, so I saw this right when it came out. I saw this in the theater. I remember I got stuck really up front because it was like a busy showing. So I remember it being like a first or second row screening. So those are the ones that always stick with you for whatever reason. Just the experience of like being too close to the screen, and then seeing it again because I loved it so much instantly. I was texting you about this. This movie is about tone management, like the ability for Kenneth Lonergan, who we'll definitely get into because I really like him as a director and writer. His ability to cover the themes, as you mentioned, grief, depression, recovering, if at all, from trauma, and being able to weave it into a piece of realism with these characters and the small moments in life and the imperfections of life, I guess. And those are the things that kind of take you through the whole movie, bring you from one scene to the next, because it is those imperfections that are often very funny. Because this movie, again, it's almost like a magic trick. The way like you're able to, it's not like a laugh out loud funny, but like it is an amusing film throughout the entire thing, even in weaving in the flashback that we'll probably get more into of him losing his children and the fire that led to that. It's a testament to Lonergan's like ability as a writer and a director to have all this imperfections of real life, make it amusing while still telling a story of grief and depression. So it really is that tone management, and that's stealing from the Coen brothers. I think they were asked a couple of times, like, what is directing? And they said it's everything of directing is about tone management. Being able to play the audience in the way that you want them to in different ways. And obviously we know the Coen brothers are all about different themes, comedic, serious. They're all over the place, and yet they're able to tell the story in an effective way.
The writing of this film and being able to make you vibe in that tone, and when it dips in all the different directions it goes, is really a testament to the way it was written.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much more that goes into it. Obviously, the editing is like top notch. The music choices are full on why it's so melodramatic at times. But going into the tone of things, when you experience this character, you do know there's something up with him, but you also get to see a lot of the bond that he has created with his brother, and that he was a different person before this tragic event happened to him. And that, maybe he had one too many beers out fishing with his brother, but that's just boys being boys. And he comes home and his sick wife, and he loves her, and he gets to hold his kids, and he loves them. I mean, those scenes set up so perfectly. The heartbreak to lose his brother, the loss of his family by death and also by divorce, all of those things just in those quick written glimpses of his life in the beginning of the film weigh on you as a viewer so heavily. And it's like a beautiful dance when you're seeing him at the lawyer's office, and this is where you finally get as an audience member. And last night watching it again, I was had my jaw on the ground again in that scene. There's a few scenes like that. The one with Michelle Williams and the baby when they meet on the street is another one that I can't get out of my mind. But this one where all of the worlds kind of meet. He's here. He's trying to figure out the affairs of his brother because he passed away. And you've got the lawyer telling him, well, the brother wants you. to take care of him. And you think, oh, of course he does, because of how well they got on when they would go fishing and stuff. Like, these are things they didn't talk about. And as Casey Affleck says, that's because, he wouldn't say yes. He doesn't want to look after a kid, but he knows he's the perfect one for it, even if Casey doesn't know that. And Casey, of course, we don't know yet that he's dealing with the fact that he killed his kids. That's what he thinks, they burned up in the fire. And so you got all of these things coming together to culminate in this beautifully edited scene that just lets the audience in. At that point, I don't know if anybody could have turned, unless you were like, this is too heavy for me, you would have never turned off this film, because it's so perfectly done.
Man, you're calling it a beautiful dance. That captures that scene perfectly. With the editing and in terms of like what he's trying to show, Lonergan. But then that also just describes the movie perfectly. A beautiful dance, like I said, like all the different themes and the emotions that are going on, while still having these characters that you care about and these imperfections in their daily interactions with each other. It's a beautiful dance is a perfect way to put it. I love that. That editing is incredible. And like I was talking about the realism, it's like you basically see all the flashbacks, and it takes you a minute. Like I've seen this several times now. But like, I feel like when you first in the hospital scene, he gets to the hospital where his brother just had a heart attack. He misses him by like an hour. He had just passed away. But then you almost instantly do a flashback to that same hospital where the brother was first being diagnosed. So it was like years earlier. And it's like, looking at it, I was like, yeah, I definitely know this was a flashback, but like the audience, I kind of vaguely remember it being a little thrown off by that. Like, it's not instantly clear. You're just being thrown right back into a flashback to tell the story of where he was coming from before. Some of the ones later are clear because, like Patrick, he's 16 in the present, but then in some of the flashbacks, he's like 9 or 10. So that's a little bit more obvious, but
it does take him.
Yeah, it does take a second, I think, for the audience, if the first time you're watching it, to get on board with the way these flashbacks are being shown. But again, like, they're so perfectly done that like you just get these bits and pieces of Affleck's character, slowly understanding why he is the way he is. Like I said, instantly that he's a broken person at the beginning, but then until that scene with him in the lawyer's office, you fully are just like you say, you're jaws on the floor, just like, holy shit, this is what he's been living with the whole time.
Right. And like, before that scene happens where the audience does find that out, I mean, you're seeing him getting in bar fights and stuff, and like, what's wrong with this guy? Like, and
great bar fights in this movie, by the way. So.
Oh, great. And like, Casey Affleck's really good. I mean, he's really good in this in general. Like, he's really fucking good, and he deserved that Oscar. I mean, the brother situation too, I just really love how his brother would not let him give up. It was like, we're going to get this furniture, and he doesn't want, and the scenes between them two, when it's like barely anything is said, and like they both don't know how to do this, like that's real life. That's why I like this so much. They don't know how to do it. Like, me and you fuck around all the time. We're talking about movies and we enjoy it, but like, what if me and you had to go through something very, very traumatic? How do you deal with that? Nobody is prepared for it. So the fact that these two characters are able to like emote on screen reality is a tribute to the writing, a tribute to the acting, a tribute to the story. Because like, the bigger brother has to come into the bigger brother role of like, I can't let, and then he's another amazing scene. It's right after this happens, and the cops are asking Casey what happens to this night, how did this happen, and he has to spill it all about it. Basically, it was my fault. I went and I started the fire. Then he grabs the gun with the safety on and tries to kill himself, and his brother has to see that. So from that point on, he realizes, my brother's probably going to kill himself because of the grief, because it's so deep.
I'm definitely viewing that as a continuation of the same scene with the fire. Because for sure. It's so connected. It's so in depth and like tragic watching him when he pulls out that gun. But like you were mentioning, the music, it's the same piece, or a classical piece, throughout that whole fire scene and then into the police station. And it just like, it's one of my favorite types of classical movies. It just rises and rises until that scene where like it just so perfectly coincides, the music with the part with the scene where he pulls out the gun from the cop's holster.
And again, they do cut to see like his brother running, like realizing what he's doing, and he's trying to stop him and stuff. So like these are like little tidbits within these other little flashbacks of like the story between the brother and why it's so why it matters that he died, because it really, the only person Casey Affleck had looking after him was his brother after this whole thing that happened. He really didn't have any, he wanted to be a loner. That's not his, that was his choice, but his brother would not give up on him. And now it's like that brother's gone. And now he's also got to deal with some responsibility again for someone other than himself. And he does. And there's that amazing scene. There's amazing scene after amazing scene in this film. If you guys are out there listening to this podcast, you just need to go watch this film. Like, don't let us spoil any more for you. Experience it on your own. But there's that scene because they're trying to figure out, and I'm jumping a little bit, but later on, Casey, I'm saying this because I want everybody to understand the character and that there's no real resolution for him, because he says, I just can't beat it. It's what he says to Lucas Hedges' character, which is his nephew. And he said, and that's when Lucas, I think, or that's when his, what's his name again in the film, the son?
Patrick.
That's when Patrick realizes, like, I have to get on board with this a little bit, because he said, I can't beat it. I can't beat this. And he's saying, I will never be okay after what happened to me in this tragic situation. And that's, again, I think, reality. You can do your best to go to therapy, get some help, but it's never going to be okay. And that's just, like you said, the tragedy maybe of life sometimes, that it is okay to have to live with something. I mean, you shouldn't let it change your life in a negative way, but it's okay to grow from it, or it's okay to have to like have this thing happen to you, because there's no going backwards. There's no changing it. And sometimes it's not pretty for the rest of your life. And I feel like that's going to be like that for Casey Affleck. Like, this is the worst thing that could possibly happen to anybody,
Yeah. So, I mean, there's no real traditional ending to this film, and that plays into the realism, because that's what most of life is. There's no traditional ending or capping to a specific period in your life. It just bleeds over and into each other from period to period and experience to experience. And like, nobody really learns anything or grows that much in this movie. Like you said, like at the end, he basically says, like, I can't beat it. And that is genuine. I mean, you get a little bit more of him reaching out at the very end when he's talking about the final like setup for his nephew staying with the friends, but he's still going to be around when he can. But there's not really any, like, pretty bow at the end of their relationship or their bonding. It's just, it is what it is. And that's kind of what I always respond to. I mean, I love plenty of different stories, but like the realism with that is largely what I responded to the most in this one. Yeah.
And that's kind of what I mean. Like, sometimes life, it doesn't have the bow on it, and that's why it's like,
usually doesn't. So.
Yeah. And, that's why I say I don't really love comedies and stuff like that. It's like, I don't know, like those movies seem to always try to make everything okay, but it's never really okay all the time, Well,
so wait a minute, you're talking about, like, you're just critiquing comedies as a medium for film. I mean, I know you love comedy and you like smart, incisive, and also absurdism, but like, I'm still just trying to, like, I know there are comedies you like, so I feel like you're harping on yourself.
I mean, you're right, but I guess it's like, for some reason, it's always like, even when I was like younger, I used to love like parking my car in the driveway, not driving anywhere, but grabbing like a 6-pack of beer, sitting in my car and listening to like sad songs. and just like getting mildly drunk, just listening to sad songs. Like, what? I don't know what the fuck's wrong with me. Maybe it's like maybe it's like because I've had some like, hardship in my life. I like to like hear other people connect that way. I've changed that a lot. Okay. But, I kind of really get on the level of like life and like the richness of the challenges and the richness of like what it does to you. I guess that's why sometimes I'd pick something that's more serious over something that's more funny.
I mean, it's interesting we're on this conversation. Like I said, this is not a comedy at all. But like I said, it's one of the main reasons why it's one of my favorites of the last decade is because it's able to weave in those slightly awkward, funny moments with everything that we've been talking about grief.
Well, and so I mean, there's
incredible.
I'm sorry, Pat. I was going to say the juxtaposition of this kid who hasn't been beaten down by life. Right. He has everything going, 2 girlfriends, a band. Yeah. I mean, he even says it in that scene. I've got everything here, and I love like what me and my dad were doing. I love the boat. I love my life here. Like, why do I have to change?
Right.
Like, you've got nothing going on. You're a janitor out there in Boston, and here I am enjoying my life and having everything going for me. And like, yeah, he hasn't been beaten down by life yet. And that's something that is like a little bit of a sad thing about life, as we do get born and have this amazing, beautiful trajectory that we're going and everything's okay. People are taking care of you. Money doesn't worry, I mean, most of us, and not all of us, but money isn't really a factor because you're being taken care of by your parents. I mean, and then all of a sudden you're off on your own, and then somebody dies, and then you lose your job, and then there's a pandemic, and then, blah, blah. Like life closes in on you as you get older sometimes. And it's a nice juxtaposition because Casey Affleck's at the end of the spectrum where it's like, I don't know why he's even alive anymore. There's so much to deal with every time he wakes up in the morning. But then you've got Patrick over here who has everything to live for. And the comedy kind of exists in there too because of the youth that he is, like being dropped off at the kid's house and like, trying to have sex with like his girlfriend while the mom is down there, like, and like, okay, come on, like, can you help me out? Can you go in there and like just spend some time with the mom so like I can have a few minutes to myself with her? Those are like really funny parts to me,
Oh my God. I mean, yeah, you can't talk like every other adult for 30 minutes, talk about stock prices, talk about their insurance, do anything to help me out. He's like, nope, not going to do it. I mean, so that's why the scenes with the 2 of them are so good. One, they're just awesome actors, but the characters, it's one thing I realized that it's like, they don't know it in the movie, but they basically come to learn that emotionally they're almost the same age because Affleck is like so broken down. Patrick's only like 16. They're both like good people, but like they both are just like not sure of which direction to go, not sure who's taking charge. Neither of them really want that quite yet. I mean, because again, Patrick's only 16. He's doing all the stuff you should be doing when you're a teenager, and Affleck is just completely broken. All the scenes with them walking, it's like it's two people that are just like learning of like, oh, we're kind of on the same level and we're still willing to support each other, but it's hard when there's no clear person in charge.
Yeah, I guess that helps that they cast Casey Affleck too, because he does look so youthful himself, even if he is like in this movie at tons of times looking like he's been up for days. He still looks like he is a younger uncle. And they are kind of, like you said, emotionally, they're on the same almost
level.
Basically. Yeah, level. Yeah. And I mean,
but I mean, yeah, like you're like, he's like, it's just little things. He's like, he's dropping off at school. These 2 girls come up to him. He's like, oh, those are your girlfriends too. It's like, yeah, they wish. It's like, right. There is like they are so well together. So
upon this watch, there was like, it's interesting how many times I feel like Casey Affleck is like rejects any kind of advances from women. I didn't really notice that in the first watches, but in this watch, I noticed there was a lot. And there's even one, I think, from the younger girl who slept over that night, and she kind of puts her hand on him, like whether it's sexual or not. It's like trying to kind of like give some sort of like, it's okay. And, Casey's on the phone or whatever with the morgue and trying to figure out how to get the body, and then he gets up from the table and walks away. There's a little moment where that girl that's had slept over, Patrick's girlfriend, puts her hand on him. And I thought that was an interesting scene. And then I also started to realize this is deja vu, because he I think even somebody says how does he know how to do all this or something? It's well, he just did this for his family. He had to put it all together. And I mean, the entire show movie, that, but yeah,
the entire movie is him just metaphorically and literally facing his past, because he's got to go back to his hometown where he lost his whole family and go through the same motions of, like you said, with the morgue, figuring all this stuff around the death and working with a lot of the same people. It's literally what he did 7 or 8 years previous. So, I mean, that's it. He rejects every advance from a woman, even if it's not overt. The girl at the bar, the mother of his nephew's girlfriend. He's not interested in that at all at this point of his life.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because let's just talk about that scene when the kids do unfortunately pass away. What was happening before that was that they were all partying, and it seemed like that was just a classic thing. The wife's sleeping, he's a new dad, younger kids, not new, but he has younger kids, and he's down in his basement, all of us have done in the past, partying with his friends. And I was surprised on this watch. I didn't really catch it, but he was talking about the drugs that were involved. He's somebody's passing around a joint. There was some coke there. And I didn't even realize he was talking about the drug. I just, because they don't show that, but he does say that to the cops when they're asking him what happened and how this could have occurred. And I didn't catch that the first time, but now I heard it and I was wow, that's got to that adds even more, that there was illegal drugs there. And at the end of the day, as the audience member, you're also sitting there thinking do we blame Casey Affleck for the death of his kids? And I think we feel for him more than we blame him. Yeah. But you got to think you don't know, because at the same time, would he have left the screen off of the fireplace if he wasn't drinking or doing drugs with his friends? Like the cop said, that's not a crime.
Exactly. It's as your exact quote. It's it's not a crime to forget to put the screen on the fireplace. So,
I mean, do you blame him?
No, I haven't experienced that thought at all. In the multiple times I've watched this, blaming him. There's no blame in this movie. At least from my interpretation of watching it.
I agree.
Not at all.
I agree. I just think that it is the question of the character, and you do see how he could blame himself.
Well, survivor's guilt is by far the biggest, most simple way to put it of what is going on through his head. And in his mind, he has plenty of reasons to feel guilty, though. So, that is interesting. That scene when he says the coke, you do get into it. His mind is and that's why he's so surprised. Wait, I can just go,
right?
And he gets up and walks. He's in his mind, he's oh,
I got to be punished.
I literally am just responsible for the murder of my children. It's well, why are you letting me go? That's what was in his mind at that moment, at least. And then obviously it's not as bad in the subsequent years, but it certainly stays with him, and he never quite get over it.
When can we get into talking about the scene where Michelle Williams and him meet on the street? Do you want to do that a little bit later? That's probably the best scene in the movie. So
that's your favorite one. Well, let's end on that. Let's talk about the director, Lonergan. Okay. Have you watched his other two films? You can count on me and Margaret.
I have not.
Okay, both awesome.
I obviously need to, because this guy's great. He wrote and directed Manchester by the Sea, so I don't know if he wrote those too.
I'm pretty sure he was the main writer on both of those, because they're both. You can definitely. He has a style. Just based on this movie, you can definitely get an understanding of where those other two are going. I mean, You Can Count on Me was pretty popular. That's 2000. Laura Linney and Matthew Broderick. It had early big role from Mark Ruffalo. It was like one of the like first times people like noticed him as like being a great actor, because it's a pretty substantial role. He plays Laura Linney's troubled brother who comes back to spend time with his sister and her son, who's played by one of the Culkins. I don't remember which one. Rory Culkin. Which Culkin is in Succession? I get all the Culkins mixed up. Kieran is in Succession. Rory, who was in one of the Screams.
He was also in Signs.
That's that Culkin. Okay, so he hasn't been acting that much lately, but yeah, he was the one in Signs, You Can Count on Me, and so that's why I always get him mixed up. Great movie. I mean, the tone of all three of his movies are very similar. So if you're down with the tone of Manchester by the Sea, I would definitely recommend checking out both his other ones, You Can Count on Me and Margaret. Margaret is an insane movie. I've never been more. So what Manchester does with like tone management, how you feel, Margaret does it by actually making you actively like and dislike the characters in this really weird way. I've only seen it once because it is kind of a tough watch. Anna Paquin from like Squid and the Whale and the original X-Men.
And True Blood, for all of those True Blood fans out there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I never saw True Blood. She is... So just to set it up, this one's also with Mark Ruffalo. She's trying to chase down Mark Ruffalo, who's a bus driver. And in that act, they're both distracted. He ends up running over a woman and killing her. And that's like how the movie starts, basically. And so the rest of the movie is kind of a character study in those two people and the blame they put on themselves and on the other person. It's an insane... emotionally whiplash of a movie, because it's like I said, you go back and forth of just like liking these characters and simultaneously hating them at different times. Wild movie. So yeah, I mean, again, these are the only 3 movies that he's directed, so I would definitely recommend checking out the other 2 if you haven't seen them.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely interested, of course. This movie is so good.
One thing I did learn that Lonergan got his start as a writer on the cartoon Doug on Nickelodeon.
Wow. That's kind of like Stuart Little was written by M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, that's right. That's wild. But I mean, if you've seen Doug, I mean, I grew up on Doug and Rugrats and Ren and Stimpy. If you've seen Doug, you knew it was more of like the pragmatic character, but like realizing that he was like one of the writers on that, you realize, yeah, like Doug went through a lot of existential crises on that show. Nothing like Ren and Stimpy, but like it just makes so much sense that somebody like Lonergan, who wrote and directed Manchester by the Sea, got his start on Doug with his stories for children like that. So he also did the screenplay for Gangs in New York, which I didn't realize. So,
oh wow, yeah, whoa.
He wrote it with, it was a collaboration, but yeah, he's definitely credited as one of the main writers on that one. So, so yeah, like I said, both his other movies are awesome, and they add to the experience of watching Manchester by the Sea, seeing the other ones. Like he has such a specific style and emotional direction that he wants to go to in his films and like for the audience. And it's just, yeah.
Sounds like he takes his time. There's 3 movies to his credit, and his last film being Manchester, which was 2016, 2017, right? So sounds like he takes his time writing the movies and getting them made.
He's definitely in no rush. 2000, 2011, and then 2016. So he might be maybe working on something. So he's got a cameo in all of his movies. He showed up in this one, short cameo. He was the one who was walking past the 2 of them, and he's like, "Oh, great parenting, asshole!" And
really? That's him? That's amazing. That's a great scene. Yeah.
He's got some bigger roles in the previous 2 films, but yeah, just the 2 lines in this one. So yeah, again, with this movie, it was solidified. Like, this is a man who's batting like 1,000 behind the camera. So
yeah. I had really enjoyed the fact that this film was like, I guess, one of the first Amazon originals. So it was always free to watch, which is an interesting thing about the streamers, you know. I mean,
I know
if you
that's your
have,
favorite. The
yeah,
streamers are your favorite. So
yeah. Well, but you know, the thing is that you made a good point to me. Like, even on Amazon, you have to rent the films, you know, just like it's not just free just because you have the Amazon account. Like, you have to rent them. But this was like an Amazon original, and Amazon originals come through as being seen for free for anybody who has Prime. And most people, I would think, have Prime. So, like, you know, viewership would have been a little bit easier for a lot of people to see this film, which it was for me because I've had Prime for a while. And then, you know, a lot of people were talking about, oh, you got to see Manchester by the Sea, but it was so easily accessible. And I think that's a credit to having that be something that wasn't hard to obtain for people, you know, to watch, because this is a hard film to get into. But when you do, and then you finally finish watching the film, it moves you in such a way where you want to tell people you've got to see this film. And when you do that and you spread the word, if you make it hard for people to get, it's going to be, maybe it wouldn't have been as successful.
are you saying it's hard to get into as the viewer watching it?
No, I just think it's heavy content to watch, but like once you are in, especially after that scene that we talked about where you find out what's up with Casey, I don't think you turn it off. You know, I think you tell all your friends you got to see this film. It's an amazing film, but with like a caveat, you watch it with after a happy day or something.
I don't know. Yeah, again, maybe it's just my own personal style. It's like movies like this do not get me down ever. Like,
I'm not saying it gets you down, but it makes you very emotional, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
but I mean, that's the stuff that's like, that's why I'm watching something often. It's not the only reason why I watch stuff, but it's like, that's what I hope to get out of like a drama. That's why I love drama so much. So yeah, I don't know. It's, maybe it's just me, but it's like the tragedy in life is what I gravitate towards while viewing it, because it's one, it's amazing when a storyteller can pull it off, but two, it's like, you know, oftentimes I'm like appreciative that I've never gone through such a deep tragedy as that. It's an experience to watch it, and not just for entertainment purposes, but also for understanding the experience of other people and what they've gone through. So, or
to be grateful for what you do have, and
for sure,
the life that you're living.
And maybe that's why, like, because like I said, like the movie is instantly inviting in terms of character interactions. Like when he's like, the first scenes of the movie are like him fixing all the shit at the apartment complex that he works at, and
those are great.
Every interaction's funny. You have like the old woman complaining about having to go to some social event on the phone. She's like, "Oh man, I'd rather kill myself than go to this fucking thing." The guy is like, he's offering like how to fix the toilet, and he's like, "You can't offer your professional opinion." And he's like, "Not really. It's whatever you want to do." It's like the interactions are like so easily approachable as a viewer. It's like it's very inviting, I think, like instantly. So.
Well, yeah, and it's a great choice to put those in there, because it's kind of also seeing like how the rest of the world is getting on and living their lives, and how he is just in his mind,
right,
completely void of like any kind of happiness.
Yeah. We talked about the brother a lot. I've always liked Kyle Chandler. I just recently saw him when I rewatched Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, fuck yeah. He's so good.
He's got that,
we're going to take this boat away from you. We're going to fucking... it's going to be so great when we take this boat away from you.
That scene with him on the yacht with Leo is so fucking good. The way you're watching it, you're thinking Leo's got him by the balls, and then just instant, like that one line. He's like,
"Can
you say that one more time?" Chandler's
exactly how you just said it.
You just like, he flips it over in like 3 seconds. You're like, oh, Chandler's got him by the balls in this scene the whole time. He's so good in that. He's just like, he's always
he's a great guy. Whenever he shows up, you want to see him.
He's kind of, he just has that Americana kind of, not really like a dad vibe, but just like a confident everyman, and he's just always. I mean, his comedy skills are great. I mean, he showed up in the Peter Jackson King Kong as the pompous actor.
I forget about that.
He was just like the showy actor who was like the fake hero, and then so they have for the movie that they're filming, that Denham is filming on that. He's great in that. Yeah, he's just always been really reliable, I think, and he's perfect in this role. Like you were saying, to kind of go back to it, it's like he is kind of forced in almost to a parental role for those for that subsequent year over Casey Affleck, because like you're saying, like he gets in the new place, he's like, let's go get some furniture. He has to like almost like spell things out in a very simple way for Affleck to understand it or even comprehend like what is the next step for my day, let alone for my life. So, and he just he gives that gravitas very effectively. So,
yeah. Sorry, I'm
Michelle,
just
Michelle Williams. We haven't talked about her yet. I know we'll get to her big scene that you love.
Well, yeah. So Michelle Williams, every time I talk about this film and I like, a couple months ago, maybe longer than that, maybe last year, my girlfriend watched this film for the first time. And I was like, you haven't seen Manchester by the Sea, classic. Like,
that's mostly what this podcast is. You haven't seen that.
You haven't seen movie? That? Yeah. What's your problem? Yeah. But that was, the moment that we watched it, and she's a huge Casey Affleck fan, but she will never let me talk about this film without saying Michelle Williams and how great she is. And she's absolutely right, because, well, look, we just watched her in The Fabelmans, which is like movie after movie that Michelle Williams does is just fucking pro. And starting from a Halloween H2O, let's just like, give a nod to that. Okay.
Right.
But I gotta say, this film is one of my favorites, and you don't see a lot of her, but that there's something between these characters that happened. And that's like some of my favorite stuff about like why it's so tragic sometimes. I talk about this a lot. That movie Open Water, which is a little forgettable for people, from I think 2004. It was huge at the time because it was just this film about people being stranded, and then they, spoiler alert, eventually die at sea because they're left on out in the water. And yeah, it's pretty fucked up. But anyway, there's a scene before they go out on that boat when they get left where they're in bed getting ready to go to bed, and they have this busy life and stuff. And these two characters, there's, you get to see the woman naked in bed, and it's so real. Like that's something that you would do as a couple, so that when the fate of this couple happens, it's that much more hard for the viewer to take. Same as like in Eyes Wide Shut. I love the scene where Nicole Kidman is going to the bathroom with the door open. I felt like that was such a choice of a real couple. And so in this film, I love the choice that she's sick in bed and he still like crawls in there with her and doesn't care. It's like, we're one, and it's just a small little thing to write into this script, that she's sick in bed and he comes back and he doesn't care. He just wants to be with her. So just that small little tidbit you carry around for the rest of the movie, and you think, what happened to these people? And even her giving him shit and like telling the guys to go home, like that's probably happened a lot. But it's like kind of like they're on board with each other. They get it that he needs to let off steam and hang with his friends. And even though she kicks him out at 2 a.m., it's still like, okay, until the fucking kids die. And then you have the entire movie go by and you're kind of like, don't get much. She calls after the brother dies and has like a quick conversation with Lee, and you can see it's very quiet and very civil and very, you get nothing. You get nothing from it other than like, it's heavy. Whatever happened between these two is very heavy, but they're trying their best to move forward. And so anytime they have like any kind of correspondence, it's very, how are you? I'm good. He's good. And then she lets on that she's like starting a new family. And Casey, of course, hasn't moved on. So the moment that we see Michelle Williams, we see her at the funeral, and Casey has to meet the new guy that she's with. And you don't ever get the feeling that Michelle Williams is necessarily happy. She's just trying her best to move on. And the scene where he's walking and he's trying to give Lucas Hedges' character, Patrick, some time with his girlfriend. He's going around town and he's trying to like acclimate himself, but he of course runs into her because it's, like you said, the hometown where he lost his family, and she's there with her new baby and a friend. And she is like, this is the scene where I finally need to like tell him, I'm sorry for the way that the things I've said. She even says, I should go to hell for the things that I said to you. And, you know, the way that these two actors play that scene, I mean, I could watch it a million times and not bawl my eyes out crying. Like, it's so deep and rich and real. And the love, like you realize in that scene, she has not stopped loving him. And she says it basically, I don't know how to do this. And like, neither does he. They're both stuck the same way, but without each other. And that's the tragedy, I think, is like, sometimes you are dating somebody and then you break up. Let's say you date them for a long time. Sometimes you can be friends with those people and sometimes you just can't.
Yeah.
And this is a situation where they just can't. And like, maybe she does. She wants to continue. She says, she's like, and the way she's saying things to him, like, it's coming out gradually as she's going, and she starts to cry and it's building, and she's like, I love you. And she's like, I love you. And he's like, you know, like, the scene is amazing. I mean, what did you think?
I mean, they're not really having a conversation. They're basically just stumbling over each other with short bursts of trying to, I mean, yeah, they are being completely genuine, but they can't, there's no like full sentence delivered between either one of them, especially not from Affleck. Like, all he can do is like say, no, it's all right. He just puts his head down.
I've got to go.
I know, like when she says like, my heart was broken and I know yours was too. It's like, that's basically the breaking point from him. Like, he could barely even get out a sentence up to that point. And when she says that, that's when he just puts his head down. It's like, I have to go. And he just leaves. So it's like, it is genuine and heartfelt, but it's them being so exposed to each other that there's not even like a intelligible conversation between the two of them at all. And that's what makes it work so well and why it is so effective. Because oftentimes, I mean, if you're having a difficult conversation with somebody in real life, it usually doesn't sound like a finely written dialogue scene for a play or a movie or anything. It probably is a little bit more jumbled and talking over each other, not sure what to say. And so that's what makes it so effective. And again, that's going back to Lonergan with his writing. That's definitely a common theme.
Yeah. And like, I don't know. It's so hard to watch that scene for me because I just feel like again, the love that they had, the great family that they had and everything was completely destroyed. And both of these people are left probably floundering the rest of their life, you know, with this sadness. And again, there's no bow at the end. No, that you don't get over that.
Leading up to it is just so perfectly directed, like you're saying. So they have that whole montage with the Ella Fitzgerald song, I'm Beginning to See the Light. He's taken Patrick out on the boat with his girlfriend, drops them off to go hang out. It's just like you finally
see a smile on his face.
You see him like getting he's getting into a rhythm, and then he's walking. You see Michelle Williams and the music just instantly stops. There's no like decrease. It's just like, it's almost like a record scratch. It's like,
yeah, you're right. And I didn't even think about it that way. Cause like, you know, there is that moment where the audience does feel like, oh, Casey's coming around, you know, he's like going to drop him off at his girlfriend or let his girlfriend and him have some time. He's walking around town and then he sees her. And I forgot, like, and I was right back into it.
Yeah. If it was an absurd comedy, there would be a record scratch right there.
Yeah. For sure. Well, yeah, I mean, and again, just wanted to talk about that scene because of Michelle Williams and how great I mean, I fucking love, I think she was the star of Fablemans in my mind.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy movies that she knows how to tap into something real whenever she plays a character, and I really loved it.
Meek's Cutoff is great. I haven't seen Bloom Valentine since that first came out. What was she in Shutter? I'm just looking at her IMDb right now. I don't remember her in Shutter Island.
Well, because sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Like I haven't seen Shutter Island since theaters. Actually, I need to rewatch that one. So,
the reason you don't remember it is because she's not a very big part of it. I mean, although she is, she's DiCaprio's wife.
Okay. Yeah, Brokeback Mountain. She's fucking great into.
Of course.
Man, yeah, a great movie.
2005, we got Brokeback Mountain, and we got King Kong by Peter Jackson.
We used to have movies good, man, and now we're gonna. Oh yeah, she wasn't that. Now we're just viewing her IMDb. Yeah, I mean, she's always been one of the most reliable actresses who never. I mean, that's not completely true. Never like took a huge payday with anything that was like a guaranteed big budget movie or anything. Like she's pretty well balanced between all the indies and the smaller budget films with the good directors that she wanted to work with. I know she's working with Kelly Reichardt several times, and then she'll show up in some mildly famous or big budget movies like Venom or whatnot. And then Fablemans is kind of in that in between where it's a big budget, but Spielberg and yeah, she was one of the best parts of that one. And I'm ready to rewatch Fablemans. I haven't watched
me too
since the theaters last year, and it's definitely stuck with me ever since. So
yeah, same. Well, I feel good about this discussion on Manchester by the Sea. I don't know if you have anything else to add to this, but I would tell everybody out there who's watching, I mean, this is another really big thumbs up, I think, from both of us.
Oh, yeah. Couple quick bullet points. The lunch with his mom and Matthew Broderick is
forgot about that.
Cringy and beautiful as possible. Matthew Broderick is just perfected the art of like awkward, cringe-like characters in the last 15 years and whatnot. Great bar fights, like I said, very well done. What did you think of all the Boston accents? Think they worked well?
Yeah, of course. I mean, and it's such a crazy thing of like if you're going to have a movie set in Boston, it's like you get Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, or Casey Affleck to be in the film. Like there's never like a question about that.
Yeah, I think they work really well.
I heard Matt Damon was originally supposed to be in this as the character that Casey Affleck played, and I'm so glad that wasn't the choice. I don't think it would have been the same movie at all.
Was it him or John Krasinski? I heard Krasinski.
I don't know, but either way, whether it's true or not for either of those,
or it could have been both. Yeah,
Krasinski, yeah. I think could have been okay. But Casey like has this like thing, like you said, like even in real life, I feel like he walks around with some kind of sadness all the time. So it just works.
The Affleck brothers, man. I love them.
Yeah.
You don't like Matt Damon very much, do you?
No.
I wasn't expecting that definitive of it.
I'm sure as a person, he's a great guy and stuff. I just don't want to go and watch his films.
I'm talking about his performances. Yeah. Yeah, you do seem to bust his balls every time he shows up, especially in cameos.
Well, we've talked about his cameos always seem to be like, well, here's Matt Damon, just because it's Matt Damon, and it doesn't really serve the film or the art well. I'll
give you one movie that you should watch. I mean, I love Matt Damon. I think he's fucking great. And one of the reasons is because he's an amazing comedic performer. And his movie, The Informant by Steven Soderbergh. Did you see that?
No.
Fucking great. That movie is so good. Because it is a espionage movie that is played out in the most absurd way. Everything is going on in Matt Damon's head in this real world experience. And it's based on a true story of him like fixing prices and whatnot in the food industry. and he's just this psychopathic liar. And so the story is like largely told through his narration while everything in reality is going around him. Funniest fucking movie. He's so good in that movie, and it's Soderbergh, so he's like extreme expert behind the camera. I mean, it came around the time between all the Ocean 11 movies, so it just kind of, I feel like that's how a movie kind of like that, which is a little off kilter, got produced at the time with such a big star. But like, I would recommend checking that out, and because, like I said, his comedic performance is fucking fantastic. I just rewatched it last year. So
again, same thing. Like I saw Matt Damon on the cover, and I was like, I don't really want to see this. So, like, again, that's why I listen to this podcast, or that's why we do this podcast, is so you can change my mind about stuff. You know, I hope people are like loving hearing about a movie that they thought they might be the only person that liked it too. You know, like. I just really like that some people have lately, we got a comment on our reel that I put together for the assassination of Jesse James. And someone was like, oh, like I got like 3 messages from people who are like, I love that film. And I love hearing that people, oh, damn, like I thought I was the only one, you know?
I mean, that's our background for sure, coming from the video store. And I feel is like a huge reason why we love doing this is like turning people on to the shit that we love is like legit one of the biggest joys of being a cinephile, or just somebody who enjoys art in any aspect, is turning people on to the stuff that you like. And that resonates. I mean, that sticks, and it's important for a reason. I mean, people who show you important art are important. So. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying we're important, but that's why I like having those people in my life. Is like I like it being turned on to what other people love.
One of the best things that one of the best lines in a Mr. T Experience song is like, "We don't have anything to prove. We'll be in trouble if we ever do." And I love that, like just thinking about my life now and how I used to think, oh man, I got all the answers and let me do this podcast. Even this podcast was about like, let me tell everybody how you should live. And then you're like, let's just change it just to be fun about movies. And I was like, God damn, maybe you're right. Let's like stop being so serious all the time. And like, since then I've like gone on the trajectory of like, that's my mantra. Like, I got nothing to prove. I'll be in trouble if I ever do. I just want to talk about like fun shit and good art. And I don't need to tell anybody how to live their life, because I certainly don't know how to do it myself, you know?
Yeah, but you're basically proving your own point and doing exactly what you set out to do by living it instead of preaching it.
Okay, well, I'm starting therapy sessions with you every Wednesday at 5 o'clock. Yeah, this is really good. I mean, that's the thing is like, you got to have this like whole thing where you think you know the world. Like, I don't know, like isn't it weird about life? I was just having a conversation with a couple friends of mine about just life in general. And it's kind of like, you know, by the time I feel like I'm going to be on my deathbed, I'm going to be like, wait, I still got more to do. You know, like it's so short and you just figure things out. And it's weird about life that like it's a young person's game in certain like genres, like music or whatever. And I only feel like nowadays that the reason that is because like of money, you know, or it's because of longevity. Like if I get an artist that's going to be really good, I can milk that money machine for 20 years, you know, because you don't know shit until you get older. And everybody who's older knows that. Like they all look down and say, oh, this is awesome. Like I love this creativity that this younger person's doing or whatever. But like, it doesn't, maybe sometimes those things are more pop mentality than they are rooted in like kind of more life. And like why I love a band like the Menzingers so much is because I feel like every album they make it at the age that they are. And the things that people in the crowd are that age too. And so like they can relate to what it's like to be the person in your 20s, the person in your 30s, the person in your 40s.
You mean being in your 40s and trying to dress like you're 18 and saying lyrics that would resonate with a teenager? That's not cool.
Well, some people definitely do that.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's why.
But that's why, you know, learning so much about what serves you in your life and then what doesn't, you know, like it's okay to move on from things that you thought were the most important thing in your life because it doesn't serve you anymore.
Well said, man. Yeah, I love that. I know you're definitely good at that. So in the conversations that we had, so
doing my best to just live every day. Like, it's like, that's what I love about what I do every day. And it's just waking up every day and thinking, what am I going to do today? What's going to come? What is it? But it doesn't matter what it is. It's like, I know that the job that I've chosen to do in my life is like what I love to do. So it's like exciting every day to wake up like that. If you wake up every day and you don't like what you do, you really need to change that. That's the only advice I'll give you. Cause like, it's so much better on the other side, just knowing that like you're doing something that fulfills you.
Take life by the balls, basically what you're saying.
Take life by the balls and make a podcast about movies with your old pal from Suncoast.
Oh man, what a great combination.
Yep.
Anything else on Manchester in this grief and depression and shockingly funny movie?
I didn't find it as funny as you did. I would say
amusing.
Yeah, I would say shockingly funny. But yeah, amusing at times. I loved Manchester by the Sea. I am a Casey Affleck fan. I enjoyed his performance very much, but I also enjoyed Michelle Williams' performance and every other character actor in this film. Yeah, I would watch it again and again and again. I've watched it now probably 4 or 5 times in my lifetime, and I know I'll watch it at least that, if not more, again.
I concur with all this. This is a top 3 performance from Casey Affleck between this, Assassination of Jesse James, and the Dunkin' Donuts SNL skit. All 3 of those show what a fucking talent he is. This is a top 3 movie of the decade for the 2010s for me, along with Phantom Thread and Mad Max Fury Road. I would say those are probably my 3 favorites of the 2010s. And yeah, this is one I'll definitely continue watching in the coming years. Like I said, it is a magic trick the way Lonergan is able to execute the tone management in this movie. Love it.
I can't wait till we cover Phantom Thread. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, Phantom Thread is so fucking good.
It's so fucking good. And there's a lot of people that are Paul Thomas Anderson fans who either don't like it or are like, I've never seen it. And it blows my fucking mind every time. I think it's one of his best.
It's not a flashy movie. I mean, I'm not surprised that it's not his most popular. In terms of critically, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say they kind of dislike it or anything. But yeah, I guess you don't hear people fawning over it all the time. But the people who do, they definitely put it way up there.
People who fawn over Licorice Pizza and don't like Phantom Thread, I'll just say right now you're wrong.
I mean, it's still P.T. Anderson. I tried rewatching Licorice Pizza again. I only got halfway through it, and I'll finish it again. But yeah, it is. Again, I bet in 10 years I'm going to like it a lot more when I watch it because P.T. Anderson. He's proven himself that like even if it's a movie that I didn't connect with, I guarantee there's something there because that's how much I trust him as a director.
Well, I never give up on that. Yeah, definitely. How it might look in 10 years might be better. Yeah, of course.
But yes, Licorice Pizza is pretty boring, especially compared to Phantom Thread.
And which is funny to say because Phantom Thread is like
the stuff of your movie. Yeah,
it's not like an action film.
Should be like the one is almost channeling Boogie Nights a little bit more. So you would think that would be the more entertaining one, but
right, especially with the time period and everything.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, we'll definitely have Phantom Thread on there, as well as Mad Max Fury Road. So we need some reaction with that masterpiece from you. So.
So what's been going on? What are you doing? Anything cool?
I mean, it's Friday morning. This is a Friday morning podcast. We're usually recording as the weekend begins Friday night, but we got our coffee, enjoying the weather this morning. I'm getting ready for going up north to a cabin outside of Madison just for the weekend.
Nice. With the fall weather, that's got to be nice.
Yep. For as much as I travel, I always love coming back to the Midwest. I fucking love the Midwest.
Yeah.
Being here and being able to just travel through the lakes, It's the reason why I've been rewatching Friday the 13th movies for October. Those are the most comforting horror movies out there. I'll just say, like, that franchise. I know we've covered a lot of Halloween, but like that franchise is, like, in terms of like sequels and stability, it's such a comforting fucking franchise to watch. And it's largely because of the aesthetics of where the movie is set, like in the forest with all the birds chirping by the lake. It's just like, I could just throw any of those movies on, and I love it so much. So
yeah, I know
the Midwesterner in me, I guess. So
yeah, I definitely feel like maybe we got to do the ranking another.
Oh yeah, we're definitely 2, 4, and 6 would be way up there for me. I just rewatched 3, which is actually pretty good too. So yeah, I got that this weekend. Last weekend I had a couple of good shows. I had a series of black metal shows at the Metro, 4 black metal bands that I was not aware of. Stayed for all 4 of them. Fucking great. Metro is always reliable with the metal shows.
I got your text. Yeah.
It was such a good time. And I mean, it was a long show. Like I was pretty proud of myself for just like actually starting from the beginning to the very end. Cause, I don't know, 2 hours is often like, all right, that's enough. But this one was pushing 3 and got through it all. So it was fantastic. The night before, for as much as we talked about Nick Cave on the last episode, I forgot to mention that I was going to see him. So I saw him the night before at the Auditorium Theater here in Chicago, which is great. This is like the 3rd time it was completely solo. It was a solo show. He did have, which I didn't realize, he had Colin Greenwood from Radiohead playing bass for him. So it was just Colin doing the bass and then him on the piano singing the song. So it was a very deconstructed version of all his songs. You didn't even have Warren Ellis there, which is his main go-to guy when it's just the 2 of them and not the full band. So it was a very deconstructed version of all of his songs. Fucking great. That's what's great about like seeing him so many times over the last like 20 years. It's like he's traveled as solo like that. He's done like speaking shows where he's like actually answering questions from the audience. Obviously seen him a bunch of times with Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, and then a couple times with Grinder Man. So it's like I've seen him like 10 times, but like in all these different incarnations. It's been awesome to see him because he's been such a workaholic in the last 15 years and whatnot. So
well, let me know when you see him with Brad Pitt, then I'll,
I was saying, like, that's the next thing I need to do is to actually get to an art show of his. So
yeah.
Which would be fantastic. So yeah, that was a great weekend. Catching up with Friday the 13th movies. I saw The Creator, which I was pretty excited for, but it was all right.
Okay.
Kind of a shrug. Like I was really expecting more from it, based on the director Gareth Edwards, and he did Rogue One, which is I think
I love Rogue One. It's probably my favorite. Yeah, Star Wars. Yeah,
definitely the best like post George Lucas Star Wars.
Yeah,
for sure. Rogue One fucking rules, and he did the 2014 Godzilla, the one with Bryan Cranston, which I fucking love. So I was really expecting a little bit more, and there's some great ideas in this. I mean, it's all about AI. I mean, it was pretty surprising. It's a pretty pro AI movie. Like I've never actually seen a movie that was like so sympathetic to where AI can go. It almost made AI out to be like the marginalized group in the movie, which is just, I've never seen anything like that. Certainly no take in any big budget film for that. So that was at least interesting, but it was all right.
Timely.
It was, very timely, obviously, but we'll definitely be getting lots of different takes on AI in the next 20 years for sure.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then that, plenty of running.
Good.
So, TLB, Drinks on Me came on my playlist when I was running by the lake the other day. I just got this huge running playlist, and so it's always from top to bottom. And that one came on for the first time in a long time. Fucking great running song, man. Tell you about that.
On me. Wouldn't that be great if TLB played a show? Let's say around
it sounds like a little tease that the audience may be getting, which actually will be the first time hearing about it for me too. So
TLB hasn't played a show in Chicago since 2017, if you can believe that shit.
And I was at that. Where was that one? Which one?
We played at Cobra Lounge.
No, I wasn't at that one then.
Yeah, it's the last show we played in Chicago in 2017. It was like November 2017. Well, it would be cool. Anyway, that's all I'm saying. It'd be cool if we did.
Oh, I thought you had news.
It'd be cool if we did.
Okay, I got you.
And then yeah, so like here, let me go into a couple things that I'm doing if you got
Please.
nothing else going on, because
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you that the Vista Theater is opening soon. I know it. I can feel it. So like the Vista is right down the street from where I live, and it's been closed since I moved to LA because it closed during the pandemic. And then there was news that Quentin Tarantino bought it. And I love the New Beverly and Tarantino's vibe. And like lately, like things have been going up so quick. It got painted, and then all of a sudden there was like a sign that said coffee. Like there's a little coffee house next to it, like that's in it, and it's COFFY. And I was like, that's totally a nod to Pam Grier. And you can't go in it yet, but like somebody actually walked in and snuck a picture, which I kind of hated. I like want to experience it for the first time walking in by myself. But anyway, at night now they've got like, it's like lit up and shit, and it's fucking awesome. And like, it's really happening. And I'm so excited because I can walk to movies there. New Beverly is tough because you have to like park, and it's usually like no parking around there ever. So it's like, it's great theater and I love going there, but it's really, if you don't live in the neighborhood, it's kind of hard to access. Here I could walk to any film. It's going to be the same vibe, I know, because it's Tarantino who bought it and is renovating it. So I'm excited as hell about the Vista Theater opening. I've seen some films lately. I can't really think of like anything that was like, been watching. So I watched Knock at the Cabin Door for the first time, and I liked it. Okay. But I didn't care about the characters at all. That was the miss of that movie, in my opinion. The two men that are the relationship, I just don't feel like they had any connection. Maybe the only connection was the adopted daughter. And like, really for me, that wasn't even played up that well. I feel like there was like a chance to do that in a scene where like one of the classic Shyamalan's flashback to some traumatic thing that happens that kind of like fuels the story that you're watching. He had a chance to do that at that bar scene where the guy gets hit over the head with the bottle, but I still think that you don't really feel those characters as well as you should have. Did you like it more than Old? I still liked it more than Old, is about what I was about to say. And so
I know where your mind's going with Shyamalan. So.
Thank fucking God, because man, we also then after that, my girlfriend is like, she's usually like, okay, let's watch all of the Shyamalan films now. And,
the marathon mindset.
Yes. And so then we watched Unbreakable, and I was like,
oof.
This fucking movie is so fucking good. I was like, the whole time I was like slapping myself, like, Jesus, like this is what art is. Like, this is how you make a movie. I love that guy, and I don't care how many like olds he makes or The Happening. Like, I fucking love M. Night Shyamalan. Just
you'll give him a chance either way.
Always. Yeah.
I mean, it is, and not to get too much into it, but it is interesting. So he basically self-funds all of his movies. Like
I heard like recently, right? Like,
it's almost like an argument for like a traditional production company where you have somebody who is able to wrangle in an artist just a little bit, not too much, but just like, I mean, he started off with Sixth Sense and Unbreakable and Signs. It's like he obviously is able to make those great types of movies. Maybe he just needs like a little bit of a wrangling in, but yeah, he doesn't. Have that now
I don't know though, because then The Visit is excellent, and I think that was kind of like his "I'm Back" kind of movie, which I heard that one was like funded largely by him, and I don't know. It's kind of like Scorsese. People talk about like Scorsese's some of his like what he could do on no budget was like incredible. But now he has a budget, and they're equally as good. Like,
right.
Some people just like they thrive in one of the environments, one or the other. And I'm sure it has a lot to do with money. I'm sure, other things, politics, but.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I think his first movies are by far his best. And so that's, I guess, just from that point of view, it's like he thrives when there's a little bit of somebody kind of reining them in just a little bit at least. So I don't know.
Yeah. I loved all the Roger Corman movies that were there in September on Criterion. And we talked about that a little bit. Roger Corman's been getting a lot more fanfare lately here in LA. He's been showing up at a few things, and I mean he's old now, so like I should be looking where he's showing up next. I'd really love to see him live. Saw Matthew McConaughey. Did I tell you that? I saw him live. I think I talked about that last time.
Unless you saw him again.
No. But then I'm just trying to think of anything, because at the same time, like I've been working my fucking ass off. I have been inside this month of October. Well, but this is like worse than it's been. Like September was inside here working on more than just a painting. I've had a lot of different like things that I've been doing, and I'm not complaining. But this is my favorite month, and it's jam-packed with things, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't even come up for air to like enjoy October. But one thing that is happening, I got invited to showcase my art along with other artists at the When We Were Young Fest. With
awesome.
Punk Rock and Paintbrushes, and like other artists that are going to be there, like Matt Skiba from the Alkaline Trio. I mean, like, what the fuck, you know? Like, I get to be in like some pretty cool company. So it's going to be. I don't think they've announced it yet, so I don't want to give away too many details. But it's themed, and so I've been painting away on two pieces that are pretty big and they're pretty awesome. One of them is like I'm really excited about. So we got that going on. And then I also have a couple other things happening that I can't talk about just yet, but it's like all the work hopefully will come out and it'll be exciting to showcase that. Maybe people will be excited about the things that I'm doing. I just can't talk about all of them yet. That's about it. Yeah, that's what I got going on.
I mean, you got to keep things under secret. Luckily, the strike was resolved, and so nobody has to like mention projects but not promote them anymore.
No, not for the actors, though, right?
Yeah, for sure.
The actors still can't act.
Was it only the writers that was resolved? I didn't realize that. Okay, because it was. I didn't even see the news about it being resolved. I just saw that like some shows were just coming back on. I guess that was the reason why it wasn't huge. I didn't realize that the actors still weren't resolved. I thought they both got resolved.
I don't know exactly how all that works. You know, I was involved with a little bit of that just because of my girlfriend and her profession and what I know from her. But as far as the actors go, I don't know. All I know is they're still striking. There hasn't been a deal met for them. So I don't know what they can and can't do, right? Like all I know is I keep on hearing about...
They can't promote it, basically.
Right. But I do hear about certain actors usually by where they're showing up and attending and like what they're doing. It has nothing to do about... Although, coincidentally, they happen to have a show. Like John Hamm's been like in the news like crazy for like showing up and playing a show at some bar, showing up at some party. He's always in the news, and then they always mention, oh yeah, and John has the show that's on Apple Plus that's coming out in this month or whatever. So it's like I feel like these actors that are smart know how to do it without doing it, you know?
Yeah, it's more like DIY stuff, basically. You just kind of keep it on. They just can't go on like fucking Jimmy Fallon and be like, hey, check out this thing I got coming out next week.
Well, even McConaughey just like recently was on there, but he's talking about his book that he's doing. He's got other things he's doing, but he's still, so these actors know how to still stay in the limelight, even though they're not able to promote whatever project they're doing.
I mean, if you got a book and you could still always talk about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4, you're basically set for whatever backup discussion. If you
Me and Renee Zellweger, man. Green lights, baby. Come on.
That's when you know you have a green light in life, is when you're in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm excited for that show and to see how that turns out with you. So and see everybody's art and contributions, because I know it's going to be
yeah, thanks, boss.
A lot of good stuff.
I know you have to take the brunt of my busyness by me saying, could we push off the remainder of this episode because I'm in the shit? And you're like, yeah, okay. Fucking Darren is working again.
Is that what I sound like?
No, you don't. But I feel in my mind that that's happening, even though I know you're not like that. But yeah, sometimes I feel like I have a preconceived notion about what you might be feeling, even though I know that's not the case.
Yeah, that's a preconceived notion. And
Yeah.
I don't see myself busting your balls too hard for that. So,
No, you do bust my balls though, but it's usually about my movie picks.
When was the last movie I busted your balls for? That is true, but yeah, not too often. I was actually thinking,
we usually like the same stuff, even if we're not
we should like do something where we we're coming up on 50 fucking episodes, which is fucking awesome. So happy to be doing this podcast with you and us getting to 50 with a little favorite movie of all time of mine coming up next week called RoboCop. So,
well, that'll be amazing too, because I've never really seen RoboCop.
Which is, it's the best of what this podcast is about. It's like literally us back at the fucking video store pushing movies onto each other and to be like, this is the greatest fucking movie of all time. And then seeing the reaction. And maybe the reaction is not always great, but that's okay. So, but RoboCop is a top 10 of all time for me for lots of different reasons. So we'll definitely get into a lot of that. But I was thinking like, it would be fun to like, take a review of like all the movies we've like recommended to each other on the show and just kind of see like what the reaction is. Like, what are your favorites? What are the ones that didn't do a whole lot for you? Because there's not really any movie that I've disliked. There certainly hasn't been any movie that you recommended that I disliked, but there are probably ones that I don't see myself watching again anytime soon.
Under the Silver Lake is one that I remember just being
I know you don't like that one. Which is cool.
Did nothing for me.
That is a divisive one. You either love or hate that movie. But like I said, like that would be fun to like kind of review of like which are the ones that like really kind of got our creative juices going. Because that's the whole point of this and whatnot. So
yeah, that's a great idea. I love that. And also then remember that we still have to do our Friday the 13th then, ranked.
It's going to be so good. We'll have plenty to talk about on Friday the 13th. I just want to say the remake, 10 times better than what I remember.
2009 remake?
Yes.
No shit.
That movie works so much better than I remember because I fucking hated that one when I saw it in the theater. One of the reasons I'm realizing is because it was from the same director who did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, the Jessica Biel one, which I love, which is awesome. It was produced by Michael Bay, both of them. And so I feel like viewing it through that lens, not that great of a movie, but if you watch that as like a true continuation of like all the Friday the 13th movies, it works so fucking well because it's kind of like a remake of the first four. You got the mother story, you got the sack boy, hermit Jason, you got the inauguration of the hockey mask, and then the sibling story from part 4. So it's almost like a remake of the first 4 Friday the 13th and 10 times better than I remember it when it first came out. So I'm excited.
I have to rewatch. I hope to be getting into a lot more scary movies here in October to get into the vibe. One thing is not talked about often, I don't think, but the House of Wax movies. There's one that was directed by
what she did the remake.
Okay, so I loved the remake too, and I'm just going to say there's 3 of them.
Oh, okay.
The first one, Michael Curtiz, Casablanca director, did back in the 30s, I believe.
Oh yeah,
fucking excellent. It's actually on Criterion right now. They brought it back for I think it's pre-code. Like they have a pre-code horror. After that, Vincent Price did a version of House of Wax, which is exo-fucking-lent. Both movies, excellent. And that first one I'm talking about, the Michael Curtiz one, has like a weird, like, I think it was like, I don't know exactly. I think it was colored, like an early colorization before they got into like how amazing it was in Wizard of Oz. It's like an earlier version of like trying color, and it's like washed out and weird, and it makes the movie that much more like creepy. But the remake then of, I think it was 2005 with like Paris Hilton and everything, I fucking love too. So all 3 of those House of Wax movies are like not talked about as much as they should be, I feel.
I've never seen any of them. I haven't seen any of them. I remember when you mentioned the Vincent Price, I know I've like at least maybe had that on a queue to watch, but I never got to it.
Well, and log into my Criterion and watch that, starting with the Curtiz one, because it's great.
Oh yeah. I was definitely creeping on your Criterion to watch Phantom of the
Oh yeah,
Paradise.
that De Palma film. I want to see that too. Yeah,
dude.
Did you finish it or?
I mean, I saw that years ago. So I mentioned it on one of our De Palma episodes. It is it's like 74, so it's early De Palma. And it's fucking great. It's obviously a remake of Phantom of the Opera for glam rock. And it's
Awesome.
so fucking good. I mean, the music is fucking great. It's so cool. I mean, and just, I remember seeing it years ago, not really fully appreciating it. It was a Brian De Palma movie. And so I loved it just as is. And then a couple years later, I'd watched it through the lens of it. Yeah. Of being a De Palma, and it made me like it even more. Yeah. Definitely check that one out. That's a great October view. So when you got time, check that one out.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, I guess that's it for this episode of Remainders. I don't think there's much else to talk about except for maybe our music picks of the week. I guess we didn't do that yet, huh?
No, we did not. I need some songs for the rest of my Friday. What do you got? Lay it on me.
Okay, so there's no real big story here other than this song just really made me feel really good. I was sitting outside Fred 62 over here, like we usually do. And if it's not there, it's somewhere else like in town where we just like, have a nice day and it's a weekend and we decide to like have a bite to eat or something. Cause that's something we do to treat ourselves. It's just like go to one of the local places and enjoy something together. And I overheard the song playing, and of course I do the, hey, what song is this? And they always like have such a great playlist around here, so I always keep my ears open. And it was CC Rider. So I've heard the song before, so like Elvis has done it, a bunch of other people, but this was Laverne Baker's version. And man, I gotta tell you, I put it on my like playlist. I have a great playlist that I started called Dad's 45s, and it's just kind of all oldies and stuff. But on that playlist, I have it. And it came up when I was like going to Trader Joe's the other day to get some groceries, and I rolled my windows down and I was just driving around. I'm like, this song's fucking awesome. And like, I probably look like an asshole because I was just like really, really jamming to this version of the song, and it's fun and it makes you feel good. And that's why it's my pick of the week.
Hell yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Like, is this the same CC Rider that's been covered multiple times by other bands? Like, so I know the CC Rider from Eric Burdon and the Animals kind of the most. That's like, is that the same CC Rider? They're spelled differently. But
I don't know. It's like, we'll see, CC Rider. That's the love.
I mean, it's got to be the same.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if that's the same one as you're talking about, but that's the Laverne Baker version.
Is Elvis Presley did a CC Rider.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Elvis.
Yeah. It's spelled differently. Who's the original writer? Do you know?
I don't know. It's probably like, I would imagine like a traditional, that's why all these people got away with like covering it and playing it,
Nice. All right. I don't know if I've heard the Elvis Presley version, at least not recently.
Well, enjoy it. And here, one last thing about Elvis. I saw that Baz Luhrmann had posted that they found a bunch of reels of like Elvis concert footage that have never before been seen to the public. And like, he's going to be behind putting them out. I'm fucking excited about it, man. Oh man. Nice. Fucking stoked. Even though like later, like Elvis, like concert stuff is not my favorite because he speeds up his songs, probably because he was on so many drugs. But still, it's cool.
Oh yeah. I don't know much about is it Sophia's new movie Priscilla?
Yeah. I don't know. Like I love Sophia Coppola. Okay. Like I do. There's no doubt about that. She's a fucking badass and I love her. But dude, I don't know. I'm coming off of Baz Luhrmann's Elvis. I loved so much. I don't know if I want to go there again, And
I gotcha. I haven't heard too much about it. I just know that it exists. It'll be coming out soon. So.
Well, it's based on, I think, a book that she wrote, Priscilla herself. So maybe it's just more of a biopic about her, which I'm, of course, going to see,
I mean, still blows my mind that she's in all the Naked Gun movies.
Oh, that's right.
She's like the main part. It's like, it's amazing how much you can be watching those movies, not realizing, because that is Priscilla Presley, right? That was her.
Yeah. I kind of like escapes my mind. I forgot about it until you just said it. Yeah.
She slips into those movies so well that at no point maybe that's a testament to how good she is, but especially how good Leslie Nielsen is. But like, at no point you're like, oh yeah, this is fucking Elvis's wife, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Man, those movies are great.
Well, I think that's probably what I would imagine the Priscilla movie is going to be about. Is like Priscilla is more.
Naked Gun.
Well, yeah, Naked Gun. I mean, amazing. It would be amazing if they went there and showed like her on set at the Naked Gun. However, I doubt they're going to do that. But it's got to be like what it was like to be Priscilla, married to Elvis Presley. And I don't know, man. You're at the end of like a pretty long story here of the Elvis Presley mythos. There's Elvis Presley Enterprises that's going to always put like Elvis first and foremost. And then I think you probably got Priscilla that's like never had a chance to really tell her story. I mean, I think she's been really good, and probably with Lisa Marie around, able to say, we got to continue to build Elvis and make it, fans love him and not have anything negative come out. And I feel like maybe this is like the first time, and I don't know, I don't know what we're going to see, but maybe this is the first time we're going to get to see like Priscilla actually like saying some things, maybe that weren't so, I mean, I don't think she like has anything bad to say about Elvis anymore. I think it's like good, but like she's got to be able to talk about what it was like to be married to that guy,
right.
Which had to have been insane.
Man, talk about a kick-ass life. You're married to Elvis, and then you make Naked Gun 1, 2, and 3.
Her big love affair with Leslie Nielsen.
Maybe we could get to Priscilla one day. Maybe we should just watch the John Carpenter Elvis, which again I've never seen. Which blows my mind.
Crazy. Yeah.
Kurt Russell playing Elvis, directed by John Carpenter, and I've never even watched it. So.
I just went to lunch with a friend of my girlfriend's, and he knows everything about LA, tells me all the cool places to go. And he was telling me about, there's like a John Carpenter movie about vampires that takes place in a church, pretty much just in a church. Do you know which one it is? Yeah,
it's James Woods. It's called Vampires. Yeah.
Okay. So that theater that church is here in LA, and he's like, you gotta go. There's like a little deli right next to it and everything. And he's like, people go there all the time just because it's such like a famous like John Carpenter spot.
A church in Vampires.
He said he's like saying it was just basically like the whole movie was set there pretty much. Maybe it's a different film.
Yeah, I think he's talking about Prince of Darkness.
Prince of Darkness is what he's talking about. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. That one. Yeah. Because I mean, yeah, Vampires is a different vibe. There is a church in that one, but yeah, that sounded like Prince of Darkness. Prince of Darkness kicks ass. I need to rewatch that one. I mean, that's with Donald Pleasance. That's a pretty crazy movie. That's in his prime. That was like 1987, I think. So, yeah, that would be a pretty wild visit right there. I would love that.
All right, so your music pick of the week.
My pick. Yeah, no real story behind this one other than the song kicks ass, and it came on my playlist also. That came with the TLB. I got a pretty kick-ass playlist. Though,
yeah, I was going to say, wow.
I mean, I was on a power pop kind of vibe. I feel like I'm always on a power pop vibe through my adult life, though. So, but with last week talking about Solid State Radio being a subsequent band to the Booze. They have a garage rock power pop vibe, but the Flaming Groovies, Shake Some Action, is just one of the best power pop. It's equally power pop and garage rock. And that's kind of what makes the song such a fucking kick-ass banger.
Yeah, that's a cool mix.
Yeah, it's so perfectly toes the line between the two of them that it's just always been one of my favorite songs, and it never gets old. And it's just, I don't hear it played too often. So, if somebody's like hearing this for the first time, that's fucking awesome. Cause like, this is one that should be on every jukebox, especially. So that's why I felt like it has a perfect place for our jukebox. But yeah, the Flaming Groovies, I think this one came out in 1976, it looks like.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So fantastic song, awesome band, Shake Some Action. Turn it up loud. So
Awesome. Well,
Is
I
this one
can't
that's
wait.
been like, is this a band or
I
a
know. I
song
never
that
even known. I've never Flaming Groovies. Never heard.
the song kicks ass? So that was
Oh.
my astute take on it. So
Gotcha. Yeah, we ended up having a few technical difficulties if we passed the hour and a half mark. It sounds.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
We do always. Yeah, just keep on banging out hour, 2 hour. Just wait until we get to 3 hours. Maybe when we cover good, if we cover Goodfellas or Boogie Nights, we'll probably make it to a 3 hour.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, at that point, we might need a good editor, but it's well worth it for the good conversation.
I mean, don't bust your own editing skills. All the magic going on behind the scenes. This is Darren's magical skills. So
I feel like I'd be doing you guys out there a lot more of a service in the cleanups if I had more time. But I will say this, the last few episodes that we've done, I've been cutting in half because they are so long. So like my mastering program won't let me master anything longer than 60 minutes, I think. So if it's over an hour, then I won't master anything. So I cut it up in 2 halves, and then I place it back into my Logic Pro, and then I run it all together after it's been mastered, and then I place it into YouTube, replace the audio of the video that we have, res it up to 1080, then export that, put it into YouTube, and then at the same time I upload our song. And so sometimes that process can literally take all fucking day to do. So at least I'm trying to make the quality paramount, but the editing could come, I think, down the road.
That's what I'm saying, man. This show would be floundering without your expertise. So I thoroughly appreciate it. So
no, yeah, it's all good. I just want it to sound good out there. That's a thing. If you're going to be listening to an hour and a half, at least let it be some good quality audio.
And we need velvety voices when we're talking about Casey Affleck and depression. So
and the Naked Gun, of course.
Of course. Love it.
All right, man.
All right, brother. Good seeing you. Next episode 50.
Episode 50.
A little movie called RoboCop. I am so excited. So
we'll see you back here for RoboCop on episode 50. Thanks for listening, you guys. Episode 50. That's fucking awesome. Can't wait, man.
Love it. All right, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Have a good weekend.
See ya.
Bye.